stop label tourism. Xin chào, have a good trip back to China. Watching their competitors panic while their containers are sailing through. The CCP's keyboard warriors to go absolutely nuts. What took you so long? Economists are warning that there could be a 28% decrease in the export demand. Jail time for fake certificates. Your next Amazon product will cost the GDP of Laos. The impact on Vietnam is exponential. If you're an entrepreneur, importer, or armchair economist, what practical steps do you take now until July 1st? So I guess the tariffs have been working after all. China has been smuggling its way around the US tariffs by sneaking products through Vietnam until Hanoi kicked the door shut. Vietnam now openly challenges China with its new rules, making it almost impossible for Chinese businesses to ship products through Vietnam in order to avoid the US tariffs. Now, a 46% tariff time bomb hangs over every single sneaker and smartphone that's headed for the United States. Vietnam has about 60 days to prove that it's not an accomplice to China by July. Miss this deadline and Beijing will pull Hanoi into an economic knife fight. In today's video, we're going to share how the Vietnamese immigration officers are humiliating the Chinese brokers on TikTok, why factories from Bắc Ninh to Shenzhen are panicking, the US-Vietnam deal that can defuse the tariff bomb, and whether Xi Jinping's Friends Forever tour is a surrender flag. So let's get started. Back on April 2nd, Washington unveiled its reciprocal tariff matrix. Vietnam, it's its third largest trading deficit, was hit with a 46% tariff on everything it ships to the United States. But there's a wrinkle. A viral TikTok video last month showed Malaysian workers tearing off the Made in China labels and sticking on the Made in Malaysia labels and then shipping the product straight to Costco. The 2-minute clip blew up in April and made the word origin laundering a household name. Washington negotiators told Hanoi, stop, or you get hit with the 46% tariff. 10 days later, President Trump clicked pause and set a 90-day pause so negotiations can continue. The baseline 10% still kicked in immediately for any containers that continue to come into the United States. The impact on Vietnam is exponential. Nearly 30% of its GDP is exported to US consumers. Without tariff relief, the export engine that powers it to be the next China miracle closes up. If Vietnam needs to prove its real value, what does it do first? It will turn the custom officers into label-sniffling bloodhounds. So if you are new to our channel, what took you so long? My name is Ken Duong, international business immigration attorney with over 16 years of experience helping companies relocate and invest into Vietnam, especially moving their factories from China and setting up the legal work, finding the industrial park, and protecting yourself in the Vietnam market. So now we're talking about the customs officers. April wasn't over yet, and a Shenzhen manager complained online. Vietnam Customs sliced open 2,000 semi-finished electronics, found mismatched HS codes, and said, Xin chào, have a good trip back to China. Her whole shipment boomeranged back to China within 48 hours. Talk about express delivery. New regulations demand suppliers to list out all the raw material content, serial number, and the percentage of local content before the certificate of origin is stamped. What used to be a paperwork rubber stamp has now become a forensic audit. Why so ruthless? The US negotiators are saying stop being China's shipping side door at the top of the tariff talk agendas. Screw that up and the 46% tariff hammer drops. So Vietnam has just empowered their customs officers like Marvel superheroes with X-ray eyes. And the Chinese exporters are tweeting, hashtag not all labels. And that audit is triggering the chain reaction inside Vietnam's industrial parks. Walk through factories in Bắc Ninh and Bình Dương this month and you will see half-loaded pallets, idle forklifts, and Chinese owners playing on their phones. Some have already canceled their equipment loans and others are ghosting landlords entirely. Small, low-margin industries like textiles says that 46% will kill the math. Larger electronic outfits have a different headache. They never built a deep enough Vietnamese supply chain, so now they're limited in achieving the substantial transformation and they cannot move quick enough. Yet a few bright spots gleam. Homegrown Vietnamese suppliers of cartons, plastics, and metal housings report a 20% increase in the RFQs from panicked Chinese suppliers that need to localize bill of material. The message is very clear: integrate fast or evacuate. So you will see a mini reverse migration. China factories that did not localize their raw materials will have to do one of three things. One is to source Vietnamese raw materials at a warp speed. Two, start selling to other Asian markets. Or three, pack up and go home, leaving cheap industrial real estate for anybody who's bold enough to step in. All the drama unfolds in a diplomatic sprint that is happening in two continents. So quick reality check, 80% of you are not subscribed to this channel. So that's like running a factory with 4 out of 5 of your machines not running. Hit subscribe, it costs nothing, it boosts our channel, and it will cause the CCP's keyboard warriors to go absolutely nuts. And who doesn't love that? Now back to the high-stakes chessboard. While you were smashing the subscribe button, Hanoi diplomats were boarding planes to Washington with a 3-point survival plan. Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh told the National Assembly on May 5th that Vietnam is calm, courageous, and annoyingly persistent. Since an April 23rd video with USTR Jameson Greer, Hanoi has offered to zero out tariffs of US goods, promised to choke out fraudulent certificates of origin, asked for market economy status, plus freer access to US high-tech exports. The Vietnam delegation landed in Washington on May 1st, and the Agriculture Secretary turned deal maker Brooks Rollins will land in Vietnam in May this month in order to upsell LNG, soy, and 787s. Political theater? Sure. But any sale will decrease the $123 billion trade deficit. If the two sides ink the deal before July 1st, the nuke stays disarmed. Miss the window and it detonates automatically. Meanwhile, Vietnam's neighbors are copying its framework. Other Southeast Asian capitals watched Vietnam's viral crackdown and said, hold my bubble tea. Success or failure? It's Hanoi that will set the benchmark for all the ASEAN ports. Singapore now threatens jail time for fake certificates. Thailand just discovered that 42 product lines violated the CO stamp. Even Cambodia, normally Beijing friendly, is whisper negotiating with USTR to lower the 49% tariff. ASEAN's new mantra, trade with everyone, launder for no one. Turns out US shoppers beat CCP's ego points every day of the week. But not everyone is clapping. Enter Beijing, stage left. Just days after the US announcement, CCP's president invited himself, flew to Hanoi, and waved around 45 cooperation agreements. AI labs, railway loans, and more stock for Vietnamese durians in Chinese supermarkets. Chinese state media framed it as an anti-US alliance, but the communique was so vague that they called it diplomatic tofu. Behind closed doors, Vietnamese leaders reportedly reminded Xi that prosperity depended on US market access, not tunnel vision with China. The US president's response was clear. He phoned Communist Party chief Do Lam 2 days later and said thank you for holding the line, and floated a zero-tariff bilateral pact if Hanoi continues to stay tough on transshipment. So who gains and who bleeds as Vietnam balances the two giants? Let's see the scoreboard in plain language. Who are the winners and losers of this $123 billion question? Winners, genuine small and medium-sized manufacturers that are already sourcing lumber from Binh Dinh or plastics from Lam Ang are suddenly becoming premium suppliers. Each time customs rejects a mislabeled shipment, a Western brand is scrambling for clean capacity and a local company is waiting. American farmers, LNG shippers, and Boeing sales reps are seeing a windfall as Hanoi increases the list to sweeten negotiations. Other multinationals that have localized years ago, such as Samsung or Lego, are watching their competitors panic while their containers are sailing through. So now the losers, so-called ghost factories with 1 Vietnamese receptionist, 200 Chinese workers, and 0 local value add, facing eviction or the 46% oblivion. Middlemen who think that a Sharpie and a new label can outsmart Homeland Security are finding that their business are becoming radioactive. Even inside China, coastal provinces that rely on US exports are bracing for job losses. Economists are warning that there could be a 28% decrease in the export demand if July brings a tariff war. Everything spins around one big number, $123 billion. That's Vietnam's trade surplus with the United States. The next few weeks will decide whether that balloon grows or bursts. If you're an entrepreneur, importer, or armchair economist, what practical steps do you take now until July 1st? So what to do before the clock hits zero? For factory owners in China, come on. Start true relocation and stop label tourism. Vietnam can work for you as long as you build real supply chains and hire local staff. Sourcing managers, audit your certificates of origin now before a US agent does. If 40% or more of your input costs are Chinese, then either you fix it or you pay up. US investors, tariff panic means cheaper industrial real estate, and the JV partners all of a sudden pick up their phones. Our relocation mission exists for this exact moment. We'll show you where and how to relocate your factory or open your business in Vietnam. We'll untangle your Vietnamese red tape before the US Homeland Security untangles your cargo. So, will Vietnam clinch a deal, or your next Amazon product will cost the GDP of Laos? Will Vietnam's label laundering crackdown survive the CCP's tantrums? Beijing holds the investment cards, Washington holds the tariff trigger, and Vietnam is sprinting on a tightrope in between. Smart money hedges both ways. Tell us which side you think blinks first in the comments below. We read every one and occasionally roast some of them. So on behalf of Duong Global, my name is Ken Duong. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one.